Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I am hopping on today with our lovely, lovely Chloe Janelle. We got off to some glitchy starts for this first episode, but what's interesting is that this show is all about glitches and weird radio stuff. It's just kind of faded at this point. But I do want to hear you all's thoughts. So we were just in the process of talking about episode 1, our connections to it, and we got a chance to know Chloe personally. But then I'm going to do another questionnaire that is, like I was telling you before, high school most likely twos. So, Chloe, you have the full reins to pick anyone from the cast or crew to choose to be most likely to for these, I'll say 5 categories. So, number 1, most likely to get caught in a playground fight with someone.
Dang.
Putting you on the spot. Honestly, I have to say, I feel like based off of the stuff that I've learned about you, you probably are most likely to. That might be the case.
What about me?
All right. Number 2, most likely to give their own shirt off of their back so that somebody can go with something.
I'm gonna go with Kat.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. Yeah, Kat's amazing. Kat's absolutely amazing. Okay. You're giving me some good answers. I'm trying to make it even more difficult for you. Number 3, most likely to go their entire life having people have crushes on them, but not have a crush on other people.
That's a good one. I don't know why my first thought was Tyra.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Tyra has, I've said this all the time, Tyra has this presence that is just like, I come into the room and you pay attention to me. I have control over this space. I could definitely see that. I could definitely see a ton of folks following that energy real strong.
Yeah.
Good one. Most likely to fall asleep during class, history class.
Most likely to fall asleep during history class. Hard one.
Hey, Shani and Candy.
I'm gonna go with Colleen.
Oh my god, yes. What's so funny about Colleen is I feel like she probably would fall asleep in history class, but then she'll wake up and have 101 things to say about like whatever the topic was that was just said.
She just knows it. That's why she sleeps, because she just knows it.
Nice. And this one's a hard one because I personally have been struggling with this one because I wanted to reward somebody with this one. Number 5, who do you think is the class clown?
Oh gosh, Joshua. We're gonna go with Josh. Yeah. He's so funny. Yes. Like the party. Always bring the
Definitely like the party. Definitely will completely steal the attention of the room and get everybody cackling. There's so many times I wish you all definitely were a part of some of the like goofiest moments that we've had in rehearsal. It was very special too because we spent a lot of the process doing virtual connections with folks, and we kind of got each other's vibes, but it wasn't until we got into that room together that it just like exploded. It was a completely different experience. Joshua had us in the room singing like church songs. We had to go on getting our life. We were voguing. It was a whole experience. It was absolutely amazing. Awesome. Yeah, just once again, letting you guys know if any of you all have questions for our amazing Chloe, you definitely can. While we're waiting too, Chloe, do you have any questions for me?
Um, yeah, I would say, what was your most, what was the most challenging part about the process, and what was the most rewarding about the process?
Yeah, I will always say this. If we're talking about high school stuff, and I'm totally going to give everybody the credit for an easy go. I am probably the most emotional of the group. I will always be like on the borderline of tears when talking about this subject. But yeah, the most difficult part for me was, like you were saying, getting the truth out to other people to say and hear back is always hard. There's some definite lines in this piece that you all will hear that it's definitely coming from me. It's me kind of saying to myself or me to saying to somebody else. So I think hearing it back is always hard. And there were so many times where I just had to like look at Kat and just be like, it's been said that they're saying it. It's not me. It's a completely fictional world that we're living in. So that's really challenging. But I think the most rewarding is, and I don't want to give anything away. And Chloe, you know exactly where I'm going with this, but it's the heart and honesty that happens in these scenes. There are so many things that I put down on paper, and I couldn't even imagine what it would look like in real life. And when I hear the final product of it, I'm like, man, I would have never dreamed of it being this. I would have never dreamed of it being this. That's whew. It gets to me every time I think about it too. But that's a good question. That's you. I need you to be interviewing me. We do have a question. Let's go from bottom to top. If you could do this as a traditional play, how would you do it? Ooh, you know what? I'm going to actually, because I want this to be an interesting choice, I'm going to step out of the chair of director, and I'm going to have Chloe have a seat. If you were to direct this as a stage play, how would you do it?
That is a... Okay, I'm thinking of a story.
Yeah, if you think about all the pieces of where we go with this, it is kind of challenging to think of it as a stage play.
It's definitely like... It's definitely a play though. So, I mean, I would honestly like. I think kind of like you said, like the words and just the heart of the words itself speak enough to the story, and like I feel like the heart of the story and just all of us as actors, like we bring that heart. Like, I would honestly like. I would probably have this set kind of minimalistic, maybe like a Mr. Hicks's house, and then like another like part of the stage where it's Bree's house and then Cooper's house, and then kind of just like jumping between that. I would honestly want it to be, you know, yeah, like I would kind of want it to be kind of a minimalistic play and let the words and the heart and the acting speak for itself, because I think yeah, the words and the heart and the acting like does wonders, you know. And we love props and we love set, but like I feel like with a story like this you don't really need it because the story itself is so rich. So maybe just adding a little bit to kind of like, you know, give more, this is where we're at, you know. And
yeah,
you know, obviously like blocking and all of that stuff would make it flow a little bit better. But yeah, I would want to like still bring like that heart out of it and like just make the stage, you know, minimalistic. And yeah, I think it would be cool.
It would be very cool to see as a stage play. I was thinking about it when I was seeing it too. Also, super side note, shout out to Paul for some of the most craziest setups for design of the show overall. One of the weird things that we were doing in the space is like we are just imagining these kind of sounds and these environments happening in our mind. But Paul, as like a visual master of the show, really painted a picture for us that was it's interesting. It's a challenge to kind of say everything that we put on page and everything that the actors brought to the table creates a very specific light, a specific sound and a specific visual. We know exactly, like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the first episode there's like how how Bree walks is a very specific sound, and it's very different than, say, how Mr. Hicks walks. And so those little simple things really make you think about things that you never really think about. Something like a really fast moving teenager or this very like intentionally moving old man really sets a really interesting tone. And so for Paul to kind of see that and is like, yeah, I got you. Okay, now let me put some like pictures of like what these people's living rooms look like, what their bedrooms look like, just based off of like their voice and their footsteps. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. Good question. Really good question, Shani. Yeah. From Candy. Philip, what was your inspiration for this project? One of the things that I think was really huge, and I wanted to make sure that we talked about it enough in rehearsals, was that there is this space on the south side of Chicago that we'll learn a lot more about as we kind of saw at the end of this episode. There's a lot of mysterious things happening in this building, but this building does actually exist, and I won't give too much away about this space because I think there's still some more to learn. But yeah, there's a very real space on the south side of Chicago that really does hold this story. And on the concept of Unearthed Crown, there's a lot of history. Just looking at this interview that we've been having today, there's roots that we have that tie us together. For all we know, there's families that intermingle between me and Chloe's family, and that tells a story, that tells a narrative that leads to who we are now and leads to who we can be in when we get older. So the intergenerational concept, that conversation between the two, I was interested in the fact that it doesn't happen a lot, and we do have a lot of people who are the Gen Zers, the millennials, the this, that, and the others, and there's so many disconnects on conversations to actually think of like, what is this conversation when they actually sit down and intentionally have a conversation with each other. So that was ultimately, at least for episode 1, that was the big kind of inspiration there. There's some other inspirations, but we'll talk about that later. Oh, this is funny. From somebody who has not seen it yet, what can I expect from your last setup? I'm not sure what that means, but the last setup...
The next episode, or...?
Oh, yeah. So based off of... So if you're jumping in for watching episode 2 and watching episode 1, what can you expect? Well, this face right here, this face right here is what you'll see. This voice is what you'll see. Which honestly, we're talking about voices as well. Everybody that's in the cast has honestly a voice of liquid gold. One of the things I really, really enjoy about Chloe's voice for Bree is this youthfulness. But like you were saying, we had a really interesting conversation, and I'll let you kind of talk a little bit more about it. But the idea of like being young but then made to be older by life, that is such a hard voice to find in the world. And yo, Chloe's got it. But yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about like how would you tell folks who haven't seen episode 1 what to expect for episode 2, how to watch both of them, actually.
I would say to whatever opinions that you might have about Bree and Mr. Hicks and Cooper, I feel like in the first episode you see like the external side of all of these characters, like who they portray. Like if we're talking about astrology, you see like their rising signs, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
See like who they portray to other people, or like how they are perceived to other people. And I feel like in the next episode you get a little bit more of who they actually are internally and who they are to their core. And yeah, you just see another layer. You just see another onion layer. And I think that it's cool because it's kind of how we are with people. Like, you know, when you first meet somebody, you don't get all of them. You don't show all of yourself to someone as soon as you meet them. So yeah, I would just say be prepared to see another layer of human beings, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. We could take probably one more, and then unfortunately I definitely have to make sure that Chloe gets to sleep. We got lives after this as well. So we'll take like 1 or 2 more questions if you guys have them. We definitely love this. We'll try and keep this going. We will most certainly have you back, Chloe, because there's a lot of stuff that I feel it's unfortunate being the first person to be in the interview. There's so much stuff that you want to say, but you can't really say yet because there's so many juicy bits. But we'll definitely have you come back, maybe even with Will, and we could talk a little bit more about these Arkansas stories because there's a lot to talk about with that.
I can talk all day about Arkansas.
I do have one question that came in from my text message as well. I don't know how I feel about this question. This is really awkward. Okay, so for Chloe, what is one thing that you enjoyed having Lip as your director, and what's one thing that was a challenge having Lip as your director?
Oh man, honestly, one thing I really like about you, Lip, is that I feel like being a director and putting on this, like doing this project and just, putting your heart and soul into this, like, I feel like there was no ego still with you. And I really appreciate that I just didn't feel like there was any ego, just with you and your directing style and just how you allowed us to feel like very much so like we were also a part of, the storytelling, and we were a part of the story. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate how you just made the process feel very collaborative and like, we could fully be ourselves. I feel a lot of times when I'm in spaces, like, I feel like it's hard for me to really be my authentic self. And I really appreciate that, like, you just gave us, like, I don't even think it was intentional. Maybe it was just like the energy of just the space and just like the Zoom rehearsals from, before we actually met in person. I feel like you just really gave all of us space to really just be our authentic selves, and there wasn't any judgment behind that. And I feel like, I just really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I think that kind of gets lost when it comes to directing and just directing other actors and human beings. Challenging, I wouldn't really say that you were a challenging director, to be honest. I honestly feel like if I had any issues, I could come to you openly and you would be really open and receptive to my feelings. Honestly, the only thing that was challenging is just I'm just a sleepy person, and I just live far from the rehearsal space.
Yeah,
and I would just be tired getting home, but that's just theater. You weren't challenging.
I the person who asked that question knows that I get very I fold into myself when people talk about me. So I think that was just an intention to just feel like, but I think in that same sense, I wanted to make sure that I completely understand you. There's a lot of shows and a lot of productions where ego plays a really huge role for both actors, for production team, for directors. When you become more celebrated as an individual, people really pay attention to your craft and making it yours. But I really wanted this show to be about us, and all of you all were cast very specifically because who you are to the core really makes this show what it is. So thank you. I will give myself one challenge because I am very, very critical of myself. I feel like a challenge that everyone should know about me as a director is that I will always eat if there's food in the room, we will take a break so that I can eat. I eat so much. I love food. God, I love food. Me
too.
I love food.
You're talking to a tourist here. As well.
Yes. There's been so many moments where I was just like, we're rehearsing and there's a very important thing happening, but there's a plate of chicken in front of me. We were having
me between breaks. I would go take bites of my food. Okay, let me sit down now.
I always felt bad too because I was just like, I don't care how much time we don't have. We're gonna all just eat. I can't wait for us as a cast sit down and have this big feast together. It's gonna be awesome. But anyway, speaking of food, we gotta go make money so that we can get more food so we can eat and enjoy life. Any last words that you want to let our people know about before they come back for episode 2?
No, just be ready.
Be ready. Be ready. Thank you so much for coming in. This is always an amazing thing. You all check out Chloe in episode 2, as well as all of your future endeavors. Do you have anything else going on in the world that we should know about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently working on a book of poetry collections. But that's still kind of like, I'm still like in the beginning stages of that. So definitely not coming out in 2021, more than likely 2022.
Put it into existence. Put it in existence.
Yeah, so that's what I've been working on, you know, in my spare time. And yeah, if anyone wants to follow me on that journey and buy the book when it comes out, you can follow me on all the socials at Chloe Janelle. And yeah, that's about all I'm doing right now.
That's all I'm doing. I'm just creating like a historical piece of poetry that is going to come out in next year. We put it out there. It's coming out next year, y'all. Just postmark your dates. It may not be like January, but it'll happen soon.
Maybe spring.
Spring, yeah. There we go. Yes. We want to see the flowers bloom. We want to see these roots get into the earth. We want to see this poetry happen. It's going to give us life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that's about time for today. We will come back and we'll probably switch over so that everybody knows the kind of post show. We'll just do social and it'll be a little bit easier for us. And thank you, Chloe, for letting me know about Google Meet. We'll be doing this. This seems like it works really, really well. But until then, I will talk to you all soon. Take care.